Welcome back to the channel. In this video we are going to look at 3 reasons why Alexa Bliss should continue with her supernatural gimmick and 2 reasons she should not. We are also going to look at Seth Rollins' threat directed to Roman Reigns. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more wrestling content. Alexa Bliss has certainly become a trending topic of conversation because of her polarizing gimmick. Last year, she was unexpectedly featured in a storyline with Bray Wyatt/The Fiend. Since then, her supernatural side has emerged on WWE television, leading to some of the most bizarre segments in today's era. During this year's WrestleMania pay-per-view, Alexa Bliss played a huge role in The Fiend and Randy Orton's clash. She surprisingly betrayed her on-screen ally, and this particular booking decision led to some controversy, as The Fiend had once again been robbed of a high-stakes victory. Now more than ever, people are debating whether or not Alexa Bliss' otherworldly saga should proceed further. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the reasons for and against the continuation of her supernatural gimmick in WWE. Number 1. Why Alexa Bliss should continue with her supernatural gimmick. It makes her stand out from the women's roster. WWE's most iconic characters belong to popular eras that ended a long time ago. Perhaps the most iconic gimmick of them all, The Undertaker, was an excellent example of supernatural characters done right. WWE also has a long list of bizarre personas that couldn't connect with the audience at all. But one can't argue that the mystical nature of such gimmicks leads to a lot of buzz in most cases. While WWE fans may love or hate Alexa Bliss' supernatural saga, she has undoubtedly created a significant brand around her on-screen character. In an era where most women are driven by title pursuits, Bliss doesn't need championship gold to stand out from the crowd. Her increased focus on character development over frequent matches seems quite rare in today's product. Whether such an approach works or not is a separate discussion, but doing something conspicuously different makes Alexa Bliss a unique act in WWE's current landscape. Based on this specific reason, she must continue with her supernatural gimmick. Number 1. Why Alexa Bliss shouldn't continue with her supernatural gimmick. Excess focus on paranormal aspects of the character can be overwhelming. Suspension of disbelief is a huge factor in Alexa Bliss' current gimmick. Not all viewers are comfortable with the bizarreness of WWE's supernatural storylines. Such an approach can also be exhausting when there is a certain amount of vagueness to the character, which seems to be the case with Alexa Bliss. WWE has showcased her witchcraft on several occasions over the past few months. Bliss' magical tricks have certainly created some memorable visuals. However, WWE hasn't specified any limits or weaknesses in terms of the character's spooky abilities. This doesn't create a huge conflict for Alexa Bliss on WWE television, especially now that she has overcome her infatuation with The Fiend. One can argue that Bliss' doll, Lily, is a major influence on the superstar, but thus far, WWE has kept their association limited to a series of teases every week. As a result, it feels as though viewers are being subjected to frequent magic tricks without any significant plot developments, which can be an exhausting experience. The paranormal aspects of Alexa Bliss' character seem intriguing within a reasonable context, but if WWE has plans to go overboard with supernatural shenanigans just for the sake of it, Bliss should drop her current gimmick in the long run. Number 2. Why Alexa Bliss should continue with her supernatural gimmick. Her rivals could benefit from out-of-the-box storylines. Alexa Bliss' unconventional approach to WWE segments could benefit many characters on the promotion apart from herself. Not everyone can be a champion in Vince McMahon's promotion. As a result, superstars who usually don't receive frequent title opportunities have to rely on getting themselves over in non-title storylines. Take Mandy Rose for example, who became a sensation during her program with Otis last year. Now, even though Rose is pursuing the women's tag team titles alongside Dana Brooke, the former's momentum isn't the same as it was during her storyline with Otis and Sonya Deville. Alexa Bliss has created a niche for herself outside the top title picture. As a result, WWE can book lower-card talent in out-of-the-box feuds against Bliss. Even in the worst-case scenario, these superstars will at least receive some significant exposure on television. So if Alexa Bliss were to drop her supernatural gimmick, it would simultaneously put an end to several interesting possibilities and opportunities for the rest of the women's roster. Bliss should continue with her current gimmick if it means other women get to shine in the spotlight alongside her. Number 2. Why Alexa Bliss shouldn't continue with her supernatural gimmick. Her character may not transition properly when live crowds return. A huge chunk of Alexa Bliss, The Fiend, and Randy Orton's storyline featured many cliffhangers. This particular plot device added some intrigue to the inscrutable nature of their supernatural saga. But at WrestleMania 37, many fans expected a decent payoff to the storyline. However, WWE booked another cliffhanger as Bliss betrayed The Fiend at the Show of Shows. This year's WrestleMania was the first WWE event in a long time where a live crowd returned during the pandemic. It became apparent that the outcome of Orton vs. The Fiend didn't strike a chord with the fans in attendance. WWE can still control the narrative inside the Thunderdome, but according to rumors, the company plans to bring back live crowds very soon. One has to wonder how fans in attendance will react to Alexa Bliss' supernatural shenanigans on a weekly basis. Judging by the divisive reaction on social media, there is a huge chance that her otherworldly gimmick may not work well in front of a live crowd. A potentially negative reaction to her segments could also affect the viewing experience for those currently in favor of Bliss' character. Thanks to this possible outcome, Alexa Bliss might be forced to drop her supernatural act for good. Number 3. Why Alexa Bliss should continue with her supernatural gimmick. She hasn't even had a major women's feud as her current character. Although Alexa Bliss entered the world of supernatural storylines last year, her current persona is yet to embark on a proper stint in the women's division. Since turning to the dark side, most of her on-screen presence revolved around The Fiend and Randy Orton saga. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross did have a feud with each other. But for viewers, the stakes didn't seem too significant in a one-sided storyline. Additionally, Bliss' brief tussle with Asuka ended abruptly before it could turn into a huge angle. At the moment, the supernatural star has possibly set her sights on the women's tag team division. As a result, she will most likely take part in a major women's feud this year. So it would be a shame if Bliss dropped her gimmick before that could happen. There is no guarantee that her first major women's feud as a supernatural character will be successful. However, Alexa Bliss should continue with her current gimmick just to figure out her highest potential as an unconventional act on WWE Raw. What are your thoughts on Alexa Bliss's recent WWE segments? Sound off in the comments section below. At WWE WrestleMania Backlash, Roman Reigns defeated Cesaro in a hard-fought main event for the Universal Championship. After the match was over, Seth Rollins came out and attacked Cesaro, but only after he had a stare down with Reigns. Reigns and Rollins have a lot of history together. They were both a part of the Shield, and have also been at odds with each other multiple times over the years. With the two crossing paths recently, WWE fans have speculated whether this is leading up to a match at some point. During the latest edition of WWE's The Bump, Seth Rollins commented on his recent interactions with Roman Reigns and what he thought of the situation between Jimmy and the Tribal Chief. "Well, if I wasn't caught up in the middle of it, I wouldn't make anything of it," Rollins said, "but like I said a few weeks ago, if his cousins don't stay out of my business, I'm gonna make it my business to shut them up the same way I did to Cesaro, so it seems to me that he's got one of them under control. Now, if he wants to get Jimmy on the same page as Jay, they need to respect me. And I'm gonna give him the opportunity to do that just as I know he would to me. But like I told him, straight up, I don't care who you are, head of the table or the Tribal Chief, you're my brother," Rollins continued. "You're Roman Reigns, but when we're face to face, we're equals, my friend. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity to get what you need to get done with your family. That's your business. If it happens again, we'll run into trouble." During his feud with Cesaro, Seth Rollins has crossed paths with Roman Reigns and his family multiple times on WWE SmackDown and even at WrestleMania Backlash. In the same interview, Rollins commented on his relationship with Roman Reigns at the moment. "Roman and we don't need to have a working relationship. You know our history, you know everything that's gone on between us," Rollins added. "We don't need to have a working relationship to be on the same page, especially when it concerns Cesaro." Do you think Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins will have a feud for the WWE Universal Championship soon? Let us know in the comments section below.